And welcome back to another episode of the Geek Centurions. It's me, your boy Eli.
It's been me, Joe.
And we're here to talk about a show that Joy thought would be a good idea to talk about.
Well, only because it is an interesting take on a very beloved franchise. It came out recently. Everybody always loves this show. As a kid and stuff, and to see a new modern take of it,
An updated version.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of opinions about it, and I thought, hey, why not? Let's check it out. Let's see what's going on this thing and with this show. And boy, oh boy, is there some things to talk about.
Yeah. But so if you haven't read the title yet, we're talking about essentially the first two episodes of Velma that have been released on HBO Max. Velma, which is a show that essentially is supposed to be a more adult version of Scooby-Doo without Scooby-Doo. Set around Velma.
Yeah, because it is set around Velma. It is, I believe, produced by Mindy Kaling, a comedian. She's also the voice of Velma. And, there's a lot of new takes for the show, for the character, really.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I mean, this is, like you said, it's an adult sort of take on Scooby-Doo, but more an adult comedy, not like an actual, like, super serious adult take, like, not like a dark and edgy kind of thing, more like just, like, it's like if you would take, like, a Family Guy sketch of Scooby-Doo and make it into a show, right? That's sort of the, sort of feels like the tone of the show. There's a lot of, sex jokes, blood and violence.
A lot of weird commentary humor.
Just a lot of meta humor in general too, which we'll get into it. It's very polarizing.
Very, very polar. I would say more on the negative side for a lot of people.
Yeah, because I think most people, even if you're like not a fan of Scooby-Doo, or didn't much care for the property, even you can be seeing this and just go like, well, this is just kind of not great.
Yes. And it sucks to say because I think this show, and we were talking about this beforehand, like there's a lot of potential, right? There's a lot of potential. This could be actually a really funny show. This could be a really like interesting take on Scooby-Doo. But it doesn't really amount to anything really, which is the sad part. Because there's a lot of things like that I'm like, oh, that's actually a really cool like modern take of that character. Like there's a moment in episode 2 where Shaggy is, Norville, because for a reason we're not calling him Shaggy.
Which I mean, we'll get into it, but it's gonna get very. If you see us like calling Norville Shaggy, it's gonna be hard.
I grew up with Shaggy.
Mm-hmm.
He was my boy. Him and Scooby were the best. And it's gonna be hard for me to call him Norville now, but yeah, like he's essentially like an internet food reviewer or something like that, and I'm just like, yeah, no, that would be Shaggy nowadays.
Yeah,
if you were to do like a modern like take of Shaggy, he would be like not a Yelp reviewer, but he would be a foodie. He would go to all these restaurants and be trying everything out. I was like, I'll have one of everything. And like, all right, he wanted one of everything, and him and Scooby are just gonna eat the shit out of that.
Yes, sir. It was just that. I mean, yeah, I agree. It's a fun take. I mean, Scooby's, Shaggy's always eating all the time in the original show. So yeah, to make Norville, this dude who just eats all the time, for his Twitch stream or like videos and all that stuff. It's a neat modern take on a character. But they do change a lot of other things that just make you go, huh? Like what? What is That's an interesting take, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I think to go back to Norville, he is very much anti-drug. He straight up says it in the first episode, like which are drugs, which I do not like.
Which was like we saw that in the first trailer, and you and I were like, okay, that's a weird joke to say, because like I think everyone is either with him being a stoner, because the joke is that Shaggy's a stoner.
Yeah, dude lives in a van with a dog and eats dog treats. I mean, like, come on. Like, the show came out in the 60s. Like, it's very easy to make the joke that Shaggy, from his appearance and his look and, how he speaks, would be sort of a stoner, And heck, it's like the most common joke you can make about Shaggy. The Scooby-Doo movie that came out like in the not early 2000s.
Early 2000s, the James Gunn one.
Yeah, written by James Gunn, I think. They have a scene where they straight up it's the mystery van and there's smoke coming out of the top, and you're thinking, oh, here it is, and then it's just Scooby and Shaggy just cooking up some meat on a grill, and it's like, oh, and then of course, he meets a girl named Mary Jane, and he's like, Mary Jane, that's like my favorite name.
It's like a subtle nod to like, yeah, we know.
Yeah, like, it's like, yeah, we know the jokes.
Yeah. Here it's like, yeah, we're doing that. Oh, but like he doesn't do drugs. I'm like, oh, there's like no like setup or payoff for that joke.
Yeah, there's not really. Yeah, there's not much of it at all. Like it's just kind of like constantly looking at the cameras, like, and I don't do drugs. I don't like drugs. There's even like he's raised on a school newspaper, and I think in that first episode there's a screen on the computer screen. It says like why drugs are bad. It's like, okay, I mean, I guess like
yes, it's just, and like you can, like I said, you can do it. Like you just gave a good example of him being like not a pothead. Yeah. But it's also like kind of funny because it's always like, oh, but it's done fun. Here it's not. It's a one-off joke and it's like not funny, and they kind of double down on it.
Yeah, like it feels like it's done just to be different.
Mm-hmm. And like here's the thing, right? That is throughout this entire show. There's a lot of, and you said it to me before we started doing this. Is like it feels like they're throwing every joke out. Like they're spitballing jokes one after another, hoping one lands. Because that's how it was in the beginning of the episode, where it involves Daphne and her girl squad.
Yeah, her clique or whatever.
Yeah, and they're like talking about, oh, you know what's funny? How in like every pilot episode has like so and so going on, but it never continues on throughout the rest of the show.
Yeah,
and it's just like, wait, what's going on? Is this just like some meta humor that isn't really being funny?
Yeah, and the show kind of like leans hard into like a lot of meta jokes. I mean, heck, I think in the second episode, literally, Velma mentioned something that happens in the previous episode, but because she has like these sort of like PTSD episodes, I guess,
Yeah.
Where in a long story short, I think probably one of the big narrative things that the show is gonna probably have is Velma's mom is missing, and she blames herself because she's into mysteries, and it's like, that's why I don't do mysteries anymore, kind of thing.
Yeah, and we'll get to like each of their little things about each character, because every character in this show has like been changed, but yeah, no, the jokes themselves, because the one you're talking about it's the one that really like just, I wouldn't say rubbed me the wrong way, but I'm like, you ruined what could have been a really good joke.
Yeah,
because it was like that. It's that moment where like someone like without context, it's like, I don't do that anymore, as they like look into the distance, and everyone's just like, okay, what are you looking at?
Yeah, and I think I mentioned when we discussed it, like, because it's not really like, because she's in like a
interrogation.
Yeah, because she's sort of pinned on the murder of like one of the students, and she's just sort of like, and the cops kind of know they're bumbling idiots. I guess that's the joke. It's like, oh yeah, we're just two cops, we're bumbling idiots. We don't really do a whole lot, but we need you to help solve this mystery, Velma, if you want to, prove your innocence. And she's like, I don't do mysteries anymore. She like looks up, and they're just sort of like, hey, back focus or whatever.
Like,
kind of, yeah. And
like, but the pause is too damn long for that joke. It's just like, and then they talk.
Yeah, and I remember just saying, like, off the top of my head, like, a better way of that joke being executed was in, like, straight up Night at the Museum. In the first one, you have the little Roman guy, and who's I don't know the name of the actor, but he's playing opposite against Owen Wilson and Ben Stiller, and he does his whole little monologue of like he looks into the distance, and both Owen Wilson and Ben Stiller are like, "Where are you looking at? Hey, what's going on here?"
Which is so funny.
Yeah, in that movie, I think it works just because that character is always super dramatic about everything. He's sort of like all like the museum characters are very much like stereotypical, right, of whatever they're representing. Like Owen Wilson, the cowboy, he's just super, all like all that stuff. So obviously, the joke being like, oh yes, the Roman guy, he's a thespian. He looks off screen. Like he's at a stage, and it's like, what are you doing? Come on, man.
Wake up, man.
Focus here. So in there it works, but here with Velma, it's a little more like, it's a bit too long of a pause, and we don't really like Velma doesn't really do a whole lot of breaking the fourth wall herself, and I think that's the problem with the joke, because it feels like it's kind of one of those, like, it's supposed to be like one of those fourth wall breaking kind of things.
I disagree. I feel like it's just them trying to sound like meta and smart, but it's like not landing at all. Because like there are moments where I'm like, well, of course this wouldn't happen to this, or like, well, obviously you can't be doing that. You're not a X, Y, and Z. And it's just like, I feel like I'm kind of being talked to, rather than like actually being told a joke. So it's kind of weird. And like, and I'll use one as an example later on, to that extent when we talk about each of the characters. But yeah, no, some of the jokes just don't land. Some of the things about each character, it's very strange, right? It's like it doesn't know what it wants to be. I feel like there's a whole tone thing going on, right? Because like it's having these like really like super, I wouldn't say dark and serious. I'm like, it's like really like gross out humor, but like none of it's landing. And then like you try to go with the meta jokes, and then you have like I guess situational comedy and like visual comedy, but I'm like, no, there's just too many things going on that I can't even focus on what's going on, and everything the overall story essentially is that Velma is, framed for a murder. At this point there's 2 teenage girls that are dead, for a reason their brains are gone, and like that takes a backseat to all the other stuff that's going on.
Yeah, because they're like, we haven't really gotten fully into like getting clues into the mystery. Like there is a little bit of like, potentially the first girl, she took pictures of something going down, and that camera is missing, but they find the camera, they see what's on the photos, and then they don't. I think the girl that was in that photo is the one that shows up later on dead in the second episode.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, yes, we clearly found the murderer. Let's wrap this mystery up. And it turns out, oh, never mind. There's already another person dead, and there's no way he could have killed her, too. Uh-oh. And now it's like, okay, so where is this mystery going to next? But we don't spend enough time on that mystery, realistically.
Yeah.
It's more of like the jokes of like...
And like I said, the jokes don't land. And I just realized something right now when I was thinking about the jokes. There's a moment where like Daphne and Velma are like trying to outrun the cops, and they're on like a fucking what do you those fucking school backpacks ones with the
they're like the
ones.
The roller backpacks or luggages or whatever. Yeah,
and like they're riding it, and this bothers me as like someone who like this is my level of you having like issues with like editing in movies.
Yeah.
It looks like they're gonna hit the window,
but they go break through the wall.
Yes, but there's no indication of like them going through the wall, and I'm pretty sure, if I'm correct, there is no like pathway in between. Like there's no way for you to hit the wall. It's just somehow they hit the wall, or like there's another scene where someone was shot in the legs, and yet they're walking.
I kind of get what you mean by that sort of thing. I think at least with With the walking one, I think it is sort of, yeah, we kind of forget that's a thing.
Mhm.
Like, it's like, oh, it doesn't look like, I guess it's like, I mean, to be fair, some guy gets his legs chopped off, and then in the next episode, they've more or less, it seems like it's fine, and then it pops off again, and it's like, okay, well, clearly there's like some sort of dumb cartoon logic in this world, it seems.
Mhm.
But at the same time, with the wall one, I feel like it's them trying to make a joke where it's like, "Ha, you thought they were going out the window? Guess what? They went through the wall." And it's like, well, it's that kind of fake out humor doesn't really work in this context, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it's I get what you mean with though, but I think part of the problem with some of the humor, especially with the meta humor, is that I feel like they kind of just drone on a bit. Like sometimes they kind of like they kind of like try to explain the joke a little bit, especially with Norvo. Whenever he talks about some stuff, like he has a whole bit where it's like, man, if I ever get into 420 or 420 culture or any sort of thing involving that kind of stuff, you just kill me right now. By the way, do you know what 420 is, Velma? And it's like,
why are we lasting so long on this 420 joke?
yeah, I mean, and to be fair, I guess that's part of Norville's character because he does a similar thing with like, yo, Velma, I've been sending you VMs, voicemails, that sort of thing, and it's like, who talks like that?
Who's Shaggy? Norville? What did they do to you? And I'm just like, what is going on with this like beta like jokes, right? Like even the response from Velma was really weird. It's like, yeah, 420 is code for people who watch cartoons who are adults. I'm like, but isn't that your target audience?
I mean, I guess that's supposed to be like one of those ha ha ha, look at us make fun of ourselves kind of thing or whatever. It's like, I don't know, maybe it's just it's an interesting weird, like, it's like a weird joke. It's like it's just trying to deconstruct what it's all supposed to mean. And if you need to explain the joke, then it's not a good joke.
Yeah. You want to talk about each of the characters?
Yeah,
Let's start with Scooby-Doo because clearly he's in this.
No, I mean, Scooby is not in the show as far as I know.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be kind of interesting to see what happens because Frank Welker does voice a character in the show. I think he voices Fred's dad.
Mm-hmm.
So, they definitely, had the ability to bring Frank Welker back, but it's Frank Welker. He'll voice act in anything, honestly. But yeah, Scooby's not here as of yet. I mean, I don't know if they will.
It's the question, right? Because like, can you have a Scooby-Doo show without Scooby-Doo?
I guess, like, in theory, like, probably, because I guess for most people, Scooby doesn't really. Well, I mean, he doesn't do a whole lot in terms of like the mystery solving, I guess, in theory. But he is like he's the name of the show, or at least the franchise. But clearly, I mean, if the show being called Velma,
she's the center character.
Yeah, she is the center character. And speaking of which, I feel like out of all the characters, out of the main four, she feels like the one that has most of her like recognizable qualities intact.
Yeah. But even then it's still kind of a stretch.
Yeah, because she does have some more interesting things. Like, I guess they play into her being kind of the nerd and the ugly one,
the outcast,
a lot. Like she straight up eats like food out of the garbage sometimes.
What was that?
Like I don't know what. I guess it's like I don't know what the joke about that. I guess it's supposed to be because like she's an outcast. She's like. She does it to herself kind of thing because she mentions like, oh yeah, I'm fat or whatever, it's whatever, kind of thing. And it's like, I guess I don't know, like it's a bizarre kind of take with her because I don't think Velma's ever been like that self-conscious about herself, I guess.
No, she never really cared, and she never really had a situation where like she would be in that kind of mentality really. Well, in any iteration she was always very kind of like yeah, I'm book smart, but I'm fine with it.
Yeah, and I guess there are like some moments where like I remember I think at least in the movies, like there are moments where like they try to make her look hot or whatever to like do a whole thing.
But it never really worked.
Yeah, because it's like this isn't me, I'm a book nerd kind of thing.
But I could still get the guy and or girl because remember she's confirmed at least.
And to at least be bi,
Yeah.
and not only in like the actual show now,
Mm-hmm.
but in this show she definitely has those tendencies. Because one, she's like, oh yeah, no, Fred's hot, but on the other hand, you also see her be like, that girl is pretty cute though.
Yeah.
You know,
she's pretty hot. You know.
yeah. So that's still here too.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
part of like I think part of it probably also because since Velma is voiced by Mindy as well,
Mm-hmm.
that she probably sort of like has a bit of her own input. Like, I mean, I think half the reason why Velma is sort of race swapped is because of Mindy. To like I guess better make her feel more comfortable. I guess in that role
Mm-hmm.
for her. So
and it's very much like something like she would do, right?
Mhm.
But it's not the fault of her because like I think she can be funny, but like some of the writing for her is just really bad. Like she's written to be kind of like a Daria, but more of a asshole Daria.
yeah, like she's very critical of everybody and like likes to point out everybody's flaws and all that stuff. You know. Which I mean, it can be funny
Mm-hmm.
sometimes to have that sort of character who just feels like they're superior to that sort
Yeah,
of stuff.
so, sort of like a dry humor kind of thing.
Yeah,
But like the thing about dry humor though, sometimes if you're not used to it or you don't know how to write it, the person's gonna come off like an asshole,
yeah,
and that's kind of the thing, right?
mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of like her thing, where like she's very like dry kind of humor, but there's also not much of her, but it's not really as funny, and like I said, it comes off kind of like mean spirited.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there's like this interesting like. Here's the thing. What I'm saying, like, there's a lot of interesting ideas that are going on throughout the show, with these characters, right? But they're never really utilized. With Velma, so her mom is missing, right?
Yeah,
And she's having like this. There's this moment where she's like, "Hey, when my mom was around, everything was sunshine and rainbows.
mm-hmm.
I helped her out with anything she did." And then like. And do you think that's gonna be like the whole recurring thing throughout the show? Is like she remembers her mom in a certain way until like it starts breaking down. Like, oh, maybe that wasn't the case. But no, all done in the first episode. It was like, well, I was like, wait, what? We're doing this now? And like, wow, like that was just horrifyingly bad. Because what they do with the mom, like, wow, that's just wow.
yeah,
And like. She essentially it caused her to have like essentially like these hallucinations, I guess, or at this point it's basically PTSD.
yeah. Because like she sort of blames herself again for her mom's disappearance or whatever, and like you get that sort of like she starts seeing ghouls and monsters in her hallucinations, and look, like she kind of essentially gets into like I guess cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
And initially, I think and the thing is like it's stuff like this where it's like that's potentially an interesting idea, but they don't really do a whole lot with it.
Mm-hmm.
Just more like it sort of just gives them like, oh yeah, let's have some weird visuals or whatever kind of thing vibe to it. Because like in theory, it could be just like, hey, maybe like when Velma's having all these hallucinations, and that's how like they come up with these like, oh, we're solving a ghost mystery, but.
Yeah, it's like her weird way of coping it, right?
Yeah, of like coping with the mysteries. Like, oh no, we were solving a mystery of a ghost and we caught the the guy or whatever. But no, it's more of like these weird like monsters and stuff being like, you're trying to solve a mystery again, huh? You can't solve anything, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's really weird because like it just because me saying like I felt like it would have been cooler if like. Hey, she's solving these mysteries. She's seeing like a horrible like. I'm talking. This person's dead. Got like scalped, and this person's brain is gone.
Mm-hmm.
That is horrifying.
Yeah.
And this is her way of coping it, which can be like both a really interesting take and done in a certain way. It can be kind of funny, which I would totally be down to watch. But like you kind of don't do anything with it, and it's like wrapped up really quick. But like it's so like it feels like it amounted to nothing.
Yeah. I mean, granted, it is the first 2 episodes, so, I mean, who knows where this
Yeah.
all goes. Like, maybe it does sort of lean into that more, but it's very much more of, like, just kind of there just to be, like, a weird character quirk that she has to have. But, yeah, then we have,
Norville.
we've already talked about a little bit, and I think out of all of the characters, he's the most changed.
He is heavily changed. Like, aside from, like, not, well, because always it's been Scooby and Shaggy, right?
Yeah.
Those two are inseparable. They are, like, Batman and Robin kind of thing. You can do one without the other, yes, but sometimes having them together is, like, awesome.
I mean, heck, Scooby and Shaggy have had their own, like, sort of spin-off shows together. I mean, heck, like, those, like, spin-off, like, sort of TV movies they did where it was just Scooby and Shaggy dealing with various stuff. Like, they're a dynamic duo, and yeah, to have Shaggy by himself, it can't work. And heck, we talked about how he's a food reviewer online, and that's that works for a modern take on Shaggy. But Norville just has these such these weird like jokes about him. Like, he's in love with Velma, and I think he tries his best to like
let her know,
but she's like, haha, you're funny.
Like, just like his whole character moment in those 2 episodes is like, crap, I'm being friend zoned, and I'm just like, this isn't, well, not necessarily, hey, the idea of being friend zoned isn't a bad thing, sometimes it can be good, but depending on your opinions on what it means to be friend zoned, but it also just seems like very like sad on his end, like, wow, man, you're kind of
pathetic.
Yeah, I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that for like Shaggy. No, not like that. Cause like he's trying so hard, and it's so sad. Cause like, dude, it's not gonna work. Just let it go.
Yeah. It's very interesting what they've done with Norville, I guess. It is funny too, because like we do see the parents, and like his dad looks very Shaggy.
Oh, yeah, no, that's like if Shaggy was a dad. He has a beard and everything.
Yeah, which is it's kind of funny.
Yeah,
I guess it's probably like the only like I guess reference to the original Shaggy we'll get in the show is just that the dad looks like Shaggy, but Norville doesn't look like Shaggy
because he's not Shaggy.
He's not.
He's
Shaggy.
Norville.
He's Norville. Yeah,
which I really kind of dislike. Because it feels like you just don't want to acknowledge Shaggy. Or you can come up with a cool way to do Shaggy without Scooby.
Yeah, I guess. He's just kind of like a very like typical guy friend who wants to get with the girl, but just, can't.
Yeah. And like you said earlier, his like the way he's written, like, no one would say this.
Yeah, he's like, I feel like he's written to be kind of annoying on purpose. I don't know. It is a interesting take. I will say that. Like, I think they could have done maybe more with him, but at the moment he just seems like kind of like the bumbling fool in the background kind of thing.
Yeah.
We can talk about Daphne next. She has some interesting things going on with her. Like, she's still
it's a lot.
Yeah, like she's still the popular girl, basically.
Yeah, her and Velma were best friends, but now they grew apart.
Yeah, they hate each other because it's like Daphne's all popular and Velma's the outcast. That sort of thing. And she's dating Fred and all this other stuff. And like she's I think she's like the other character who's also been race swapped. She's Asian. She has 2 lesbian moms, which I mean and they're both police cops. So
which again they make the joke like they're the worst cops in the.
Yeah, they're just the worst. They're just not that great at their job. But what are you gonna do? But yeah, no, she does have like at least a bit of an interesting arc with her at the moment, where she wants to find her real parents because she was adopted.
Yeah. And she's doing that by selling drugs.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah, because she wants to hire her own private investigator because she doesn't trust her parents enough to find her real parents.
And remember in one of the episodes, her parents that they go all 21 Jump Street on them, and it's just like, no, no, stop, stop. Which just leads to another problem with the jokes. They try to be like modern, but like none of it sounds modern at all.
I mean, I think that is supposed to be the joke of like, look at these old guys trying to sound hip and stuff, but the problem with it is that the way they're trying to be hip and stuff is stuff that's like hip that was 10 years ago from today kind of thing, where like I think that's also kind of the thing with some of the humor as well, is that like some of the humor definitely feels like it's humor from like 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Like you know the joke that people make where like, hey, you know, it's humor that you would see in the Oscars that's like a year or two late.
Yeah, it's kind of like that sort of taken as a show, you know, like straight up, just
like I've seen SNL be more like current event jokes be better.
yeah, you know, and that's saying something because sometimes SNL is hit and miss, you know. So, but yeah, it's yeah. I mean, Daphne does have interesting things about her, you know. She's but there's also other things where just like, but why? you
But
know?
why though?
Yeah.
Like the conversation with them having like her and Velma having with the whole thing with selling drugs, that was just like really weird and like awkward. It's like, you can't sell drugs. You're the rich popular girl, and it's that like selling drugs can only be done by da 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 da. I'm like, who wrote this?
Yeah, like it's just a weird joke where they do. It's like, no, you don't understand. Like you're an Asian woman. You're selling drugs. That's minority stuff. It doesn't work for minorities, you know.
I'm like, wait, what?
You know, like
what is this? What?
yeah.
Like I can't tell how many times I have to like stop myself from watching and just be like, what is going on? What is happening? Because it's like I said, tonal shift and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Daphne is just another like weird like thing going on with her, right? And there's really not much aside from like, we used to be friends and maybe we still can be friends. And yeah, that's mostly just it. It's just like, oh yeah, no, say I'm selling drugs so I can like find my parents and all that stuff. And last but not least, it's good old Fred Jones.
Yeah, Fred. Who I think I like. I think he's the only character they changed that I think works well with the jokes they do with him.
Yeah,
I think out of
not saying what the changes are that great.
Yeah,
but from what they're
what they're trying to do with him, I think works well enough.
Yeah, because it helps that you're being voiced by Dennis from Always Sunny.
Yeah, which I think is it's. I think honestly they could have gone with a funnier joke of how Fred's character is, because Fred in the show is pretty much he's the popular guy and that stuff, but he's a late bloomer. That's the joke. Like he hasn't, and
my man has not hit puberty. His balls have not dropped.
Yeah, and he doesn't want anybody to find out. He's embarrassed by that kind of thing. And it makes sense. He has a dad who's like super manly and stuff, and he wants to feel like a man too, and that kind of thing. Like all the like that whole sort of reinvention of the character kind of makes sense in a way. Sometimes it doesn't, like the jokes he does don't really work, but there are other moments where it's like, okay, yeah, no, this seems legit. This makes sense.
It almost seems like, though, and this is me, like thinking of it as someone who's watched Scooby-Doo, how they see Fred in different variations of Fred Jones throughout the years. This one seems like it's more like taking, and I don't want to say this, it seems like this one's taking the piss on him.
Yeah, it does sort of read it like that a little bit, because I think all the time because Fred is the one that eventually gets charged with the murders.
Yeah,
and Velma essentially is kind of like made to like help him out, even though she's the one that like says that he did it, but she's very like
she's just tearing him down in front of all these people.
Yeah, like, I think that, but also initially she was just like, no, it's clearly Fred, dude's a white guy.
That was her exact words, and I'm like, okay, okay.
First of all, I get it. Like, I mean, when you look at it, there are a lot of white guy serial killers. Ted Bundy, uh,
Dahmer,
Dahmer. Like,
BTK.
yeah, there's quite a lot of white serial killers. You're not wrong on that.
Which would have been a funny joke, but they didn't use it.
Yeah, they didn't go with that joke. It's like, listen, Fred Jones is just one step away.
He's being voiced by Dennis, who everyone makes fun of being a psychopath.
Yeah, in Always Sunny, and which to me when I remembered that was the because Glenn Howerton's the actor named the actor. Yeah, like that's a joke in Always Sunny where like he is a bit of like a psychopath. He sees himself as a golden god. He calls himself that, and he has some serial killer vibes to him. He's not an actual serial killer. He just has serial killer vibes to him. So it would be kind of funny if that was like sort of the take on Fred in this show, where it's like Fred sees himself as like the most popular kid in school, but he's not like that popular. Like he's very delusional about his own self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
He has these serial killer vibes or whatever, but he's not a serial killer. And granted, I mean, he does get like once people start making fun of him, he does kind of maybe lean into like, no, I'll show you, I'm a man kind of thing. But this doesn't feel right because he's very like coded as like, I'm just a little baby, like I'm just a guy who just can't do much for himself,
Mm-hmm.
Like,
listen, that makes more sense when you get to it.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just. There's probably like funnier ways to do Fred.
I think you and I just essentially made a joke where they just should have just rewrote like the implication scene from Always Sunny, but just make it like Fred and Shaggy talking about the van.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get into it, but just if you like, go watch It's Always Sunny. By the way, it's a very good show.
It's a fantastic show.
Hilarious, just great all around. But yeah, there is a scene. You probably look it up on YouTube of the two characters, Dennis and Mac, talking about this implication with a boat. I won't get too much into it, but it is pretty funny. But once you see that and you sort of imagine it as Shaggy and Fred talking about it like that, with the Fred being the Dennis character, that works. It works pretty well. But yeah, no. Fred is, like I said, I think Fred works well enough, but there are moments of just, yeah, I kind of agree. It does seem like the show, out of all the main cast, like Fred is the one that gets the most, like, shit, I guess.
Yeah, but at the same time, he's the funniest.
Yeah, it kind of is,
There's like a lot of moments where I'm like, God damn it, that's actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's like there's a moment where like they're trying to like not to get too into the joke, right? Like they're trying to make him seem like less like harmful. Like, oh no, this guy couldn't have done it. 5 seconds later, oh, he looks like a
deranged maniac.
Yeah, and I'm just like, okay, that landed pretty well. But like the rest of it, just like, oh man, this is just a slog to get through. A lot of these jokes aren't really that great, and like I said, it could be bad. It's bad because like this could have worked. That's all I'm saying. If you found a way to make it work, it goes there. And like the idea of making like a Scooby-Doo more adult isn't something that's far-fetched. Like the Scooby-Doo has been done in like a lot of different ways. Like a lot of people have talked about like Mystery Incorporated, which is a show that has dark moments. And it's still Scooby-Doo, like, we found the guy with the mask, but there's like an overarching story and like I said, dark elements. Like I still remember this part where this one character, like, she essentially had a gun held to her, and like it cuts to Scooby and Velma walking like through a bridge, and all you hear in the background is gunshots, and Scooby going like whimpering like a dog, and Velma's like, we gotta keep moving, Scoob, we gotta keep moving, and I'm just like, holy shit, that was dark. that person got shot up. It wasn't like one shot; it was like a multiple shots too.
Mm-hmm.
So and like that's an adult version. Like that's probably like the most like mature Scooby Doo has done. So you can totally do a mature Scooby Doo story. Heck, there was a comic book called Scooby Doo Apocalypse, where it's like everyone's like modern take, and like Shaggy looks like a fucking hipster. Like he's got tattoos around in his arm. He's got the hipster beard and haircut, and like in that one, fucking it's more over the top, yes, but there's a lot of still like holy shit moments. Like I think there's a moment where Fred is like a zombie, or like and like even like and going back to like Mystery Incorporated, yes, like Fred in that one is like a weirdo involving traps, which all the jokes are written there.
Yeah. So yeah, and I think that's I guess the beauty of Scooby Doo is that it's very malleable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, heck, the basic concept of like four teenagers and a wacky mascot character solving mysteries was milked by Hanna-Barbera themselves. I mean, how many freaking shows after Scooby-Doo was basically the same freaking concept?
There was pretty sure there was one that was just like literally just traced over Scooby-Doo. I just can't remember what it was. There was one with involving a shark.
One with a talking car.
The one with the talking car. There was one with like a gooey character. I'm trying to remember whichever. There was a Scooby-Doo episode. It was a Mystery Incorporated episode with involving all the mascots. That's what I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I remember that too. Yeah, where it's like they make reference to that. Heck, I mean, guys, to be fair,
there was a caveman one.
Yeah, Captain Caveman. I think that's his name. Yeah. But I believe to be fair, Mystery Incorporated did that a lot of the times. Like I think not grown up, like teenage Bam Bam and
Pebbles.
Pebbles.
Yeah,
were in the background of a shop once.
Yeah, they had what's his name, the bear, Yogi Bear.
Yeah,
in the background too. But no, like I said, like you said, it's so malleable you can like kind of do anything. Heck, and like I said, you can do a mature or like an adult version of Scooby Doo. I mean, James Gunn tried to do it back in the day with the Scooby Doo movies. He really wanted to lean hard on those shit.
Yeah, and obviously Warner Brothers was like, no, this is a kids movie. We can't. No, we can't do that.
Yeah, no, like he was gonna go hard in on the whole Velma being in like a same-sex relationship, as I recall. And but like I said, like there's so many moments of even Scooby Doo were like, oh, this is actually pretty like really cool and really different. Like remember the biggest one that everyone always talks about, Zombie Island.
Oh yeah, the one where like the monsters are real, like that whole like arc of Scooby Doo movies, direct to DVD movies or whatever, VHS I guess, where it's real monsters. You know, you had Zombie Island, where it's like, oh, it's actual real zombies,
and which still has yet to be topped.
Yeah, I mean, like the whole scene where like they're like, it's just a mask, let's pull it off, and they pull the head off, and it's just like, oh my god, it's an actual zombie. Yeah, and then you got friggin' the aliens one where it's that whole thing, and then the witches stuff,
and then it ended with the weird cyber one.
Yeah, the cyber one is not Cyber Chase. That's a friggin' PBS show. Yeah.
Whatever it was.
Yeah, that one was probably. I guess it's the low point of those movies, but I don't know. I still liked it.
Yeah, it was fun. But the idea of sort of modernizing or changing up Scooby-Doo to be something different has been done before, and you can do it. No one's against it. Everyone has their own little favorite version of like Scooby-Doo. There's even more kiddier versions. Remember a pup named Scooby-Doo and like shit like that.
Yeah, like I said, like
we grew up with Cartoon Network. Shut up.
Yeah, no, I mean, friggin'. Like I said, Scooby-Doo is a very malleable show. You can do a lot of things with it. It's just that obviously the execution has to be there. I think for this Velma show, it's not. It's just I guess the execution is just kind of off.
Yeah, and it's not like it was meant. Like there's some good ideas.
Yeah, it's not very well written or executed well.
Yeah, which is this really sad part, because like you just heard us talk about like what they could do, like if Fred's being played by Glenn Howard, who was known for his role in Sunny, Always Sunny, play into that.
Yeah, I mean, you could, or heck, even if it's not like, heck, even if you're not like, even if it wasn't voiced by Glenn Howerton, straight up like that would be a cool idea for Fred to be like a delusional guy who thinks he's the shit.
Or if you want to go include a little bit of Mystery Incorporated, have people be weirded out that he likes to make traps.
Or or make fun. I don't know, make fun of the ascot too. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's like he wears an ascot. Weirdo lamb.
I'm thinking of the Robot Chicken sketch now.
Yeah, the Raw Chicken sketch. That's also too fair. That one is also, I guess, a pretty good Scooby-Doo parody as well, because not only do you have the original the actors from the movie playing all their characters,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it also kind of works when you think about it
It
too.
really does work. I mean, and like what I was saying about like Velma, like having it like where like she's trying to solve this serial killer, but like it's all gets to her so much that she starts to like internalize it as her solving a ghost.
Yeah, mystery or whatever. That would be kind of a neat way to do that. You know?
Yeah. And like like everything with Shaggy and Velma, and Daphne, there's different ways you can do it with like and still play up the jokes, because like I feel like the jokes write themselves, and this is for me coming from hindsight's 2020 kind of shit. But I mean Velma, I don't know if I want. I mean I might see more out of morbid curiosity, but I'm not gonna. I don't know if I'm gonna enjoy it. I don't know about you.
No, I definitely, I guess maybe out of morbid curiosity, but I'm not sure. Like, these first two episodes don't really, like, they sell me on some of the ideas, but not on the entire show itself, you know? I will say this, like, because I feel like if you really wanted to do, like, this sort of, like Scooby-Doo show that kind of makes fun of itself or like the tropes of its own thing, like I don't want to not because I haven't watched the show, so I don't really know much about it, but the Supernatural, I guess, crossover episode with Scooby-Doo.
Well, I've seen it. It's probably the only time I've ever watched Supernatural. That is probably one of the best
like modern day sort of like make fun of Scooby-Doo kind of thing. Yeah,
because like just when I realized, oh wait, you mean to tell me ghosts, demons, angels are real? What have we been doing our whole point? All we've been doing is catching these rich white guys and like, ruining their development bullshit. and like Velma's having no existential questions like, wait, ghosts are real? And like Daphne's like, am I going to hell? Is this is any of this real? And Shaggy's like, I told you. We shouldn't have been doing this shit from day one. I told you. And I'm just like, that is the funniest, like most like serious take I've ever seen like Scooby-Doo ever have. And like, yes, it can be done. And that's like a prime example of what you could do, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Velma as a show. From my experience for the first two episodes, because there's only 2 episodes out, not that great, sadly, which is really sad. Because like I don't like to sit and like rant about anything bad, and I'm not ranting. I'm more being critical, right? I think that this show has potential to be good. But sadly, it doesn't. There's not enough things for me to go like, this could be good later on. It didn't give me with much hope. I'd say that.
Yeah, I feel like initially the idea, like when you first hear about it, like a Scooby-Doo show that's focused on Velma and her sort of thing, and like maybe like sort of an origin of like how the gang got together kind of thing. That sounds neat. It sounds like a neat premise for a show. But once we started getting like more information and obviously seeing the trailers and like the jokes and all that stuff, and now seeing like these first 2 episodes, it's very much like I think you fumbled this one. I think you fumbled it a little bit. There's some there's some good parts here that in theory could work very well, but I feel like you sort of botched the execution. Like there ain't a whole lot here that makes me go like, yeah, no, this can turn itself around. This can still be good for but I don't know. Stranger things have happened.
We'll see. But anyways, guys, it's I guess at the end of the episode. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to follow us on all social medias: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at the Geek Centurions. We are most active on Instagram, where you'll find a link tree to all the podcasting sites we're officially part of, like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Pandora. And you'll find a link to the YouTube, where all you audio listeners can check us out there. Be sure to follow, comment. Be sure to subscribe, hit the bell icon. You know how YouTube is, and be sure to support us on Patreon if you'd like. It's always there for any form of support. And yeah, Velma's not that great. Not that great.
No.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been me, your boy Eli.
Give me Joe.
You guys have a good one. Peace.